What did a kid in your school do to get expelled? I live in a ruralish Irish town and our school was built next to a massive wheat farm. One day a kid brought in a plastic bottle filled with petrol and matches. He hopped over the fence at lunchtime and set the field on fire. Destroyed the farmer's entire plot. Apparently it was about 500k worth of crops. He also served time. Was pretty wild. Some kid in my elementary school got expelled for dropping fireworks through the mail slot in the school front door, blowing the glass out of it. Elementary school. Dude smuggled a wine bottle. How did the teachers find out? Well, the brass knuckles he was carrying in the backpack broke the bottle and spilled wine in the middle of the classroom. Threw a chair at our pregnant teacher in year 5, 9 to 10-year-old. I also went to his house to play because our mums were friends. And he beat me up so badly, kicking my stomach in, until I puked in the car ride home, and my mum came running in screaming. I'm also a girl, so it's not like we were rowdy boys play fighting. Never seen that kid since. Very weird kid in my year at the time. Came into school with huge amounts of hairspray in his hair. The amount where your hair eventually sticks like gel, but without actually using any. Guy that sat behind him in one of our classes happened to be one of the worst behaved kids in the school and he proceeded to get out his lighter and light his hair on fire. It didn't go up like if it were oil, but it definitely stayed alight long enough to see him running out the door with his hair smoking. Both kids were gone after that. In the canyons near our housing, there was lots of old World War II ordnance from when it was a proving ground. Lots of people collected the mostly harmless dummy ordnance. However, some kids found a mortar round and it blew up while they were playing catch with it. 2 of the 3 kids died. So the alarm went off to turn in whatever you had. They found some really impressive collections. So the fire department and army EOD came to our school to show us some examples of what we could come across. As we sat in the bleachers of the gym, this kid stands up holding what appeared to be a shiny aluminum softball and asked if it was anything. The EOD guys froze and we all had to evacuate. Turned out to be from a cluster bomb. Never seen that kid again. A kid escaped school on a Gordon food service truck during recess. They found him hiding in the Uncrustable sandwich box while unloading the truck when they got back to their little warehouse. Repeatedly put used condoms in a girl's locker to the point where there was a sting operation to catch him. One girl I went to high school with stole some school letterhead and proceeded to make her own report cards all year. Super quiet girl. I had her pegged as the honor student type. I don't know if she got expelled, but I never saw her again. I'm from the Midwest. This was the mid-90s. A middle schooler went bird hunting over the weekend. He still had shotgun shells in his coat jacket on Monday. No weapon, just the shells. When he got to school he realized the shells were there and immediately turned them into the principal. He was suspended from classes until the board made their decision, and he was eventually expelled. Kid made an honest mistake, did the right thing to correct the mistake, and was punished to the maximum for it. 2 kids were dealing drugs out of their lockers. It was actually a pretty good plan. One had a locker upstairs and the other's locker was downstairs. Everyone who bought drugs knew the combinations. People were told which locker had their merch, and when you had class on that floor you'd get a hall pass and stop by the locker. A teacher got suspicious of seeing multiple kids going to the same locker. I will never forget being in class and getting the lockdown announcement while drug dogs were brought in and seeing one of the kids flying down the hallway toward his locker. Stole an autistic kid's backpack full of books, took a shit in it, zipped it shut, and shook it up. He then bragged about it to one of his friends, so when autistic kid had his freak out it didn't take long for administration to figure out who done it. Pushed a kid into bookcase, thus knocking down the whole row of books. All over an airplane engineering book. He would poop in a bag and stick it in somebody's backpack. He did this twice. First time he got suspended and a warning. Second time he got expelled. This was in 9th grade. He was a junior. A freshman was giving him a blowjob in the closet during anime club and a teacher walked in on them. One kid came into the school and shot a bunch of students with a BB gun. He was a pretty troubled kid. Later on he ended up going to the same high school as me, did the same kind of stupid shit, dropped out in grade 11, and I didn't know what happened to him for many years. Recently though I found out he's gotten his act together by the sounds of it, owns his own construction company, and dropped the drugs, seems to be doing alright. He crushed a canister of pepper spray with pliers until it exploded. They evacuated the entire school and shut down that wing of the school for 3 days until the city and school district cleared it safe for use. If I recall correctly, it hospitalized one student for a few days and earned the guy some juvie time and hefty fines. That area of the school smelled like old fish and bleach for weeks afterwards. He stole a butcher knife from the cafeteria kitchen and attacked a teacher with it. They tried to subdue him. This is the era before school resource officer school shootings, and someone pulled the fire alarm. We all evacuated the building. In the ensuing scuffle with the principal, he dropped the butcher knife, but grabbed all the plastic knives and forks from the cafeteria. He ran outside to where we were standing and threw them at us. Since they were cheap plastic, nobody got hurt. He was eventually tackled by the gym teacher and principal, then carted away in an ambulance. Kid never came back to school. The school also decided that banning plastic knives and forks would prevent this incident from happening again, so they replaced all plastic silverware with sporks, which is a real tragedy. Kid did get the mental help he needed and has gone on to be a productive member of society. Kid sprayed bear spray all over the boys' bathroom. It spread through the halls and more than 20 to 30 people got it in their eyes and mouth and had trouble breathing, including some of my best friends, who had to go home cause they couldn't breathe. Kid in my sister's class called in a bomb threat to the school from the school cafeteria payphone. This was in 1999, so before everyone had cell phones. He was arrested and expelled. Released 500 crickets into our school cafeteria, then proceeded to sit back and watch the madness. Resource officer caught as many as he could and ended up putting in the perpetrator's car via a open window. He had the last laugh. When I was in middle school, around age 13, there was a girl in the class sending threatening emails with rather serious threats to all the popular girls. It ended up escalating to where the FBI was involved, and it turns out one of the popular girls herself who was targeted was the one sending the messages. This was the late 90s, so don't think she even bothered to cover her tracks much and just used her home computer. If I recall correctly, her decomposing body was found in the river like 10 years later. Looking back on it all, I'm pretty sure she had undiagnosed mental problems that were starting to surface and was one of those people who never managed to get them under control. He could fart at will by sucking air into his ass and then letting it rip. He once tried it under the shower after PE. Well, it turns out that if you suck water with your ass, you end up shooting watery shit bombs. We were laughing our asses off to this shit cannon until one guy went to tell the teacher and he had to go and clean it up. My brother got expelled for mooning the teacher in the middle of class. I almost did too, for figuring out how to open the console on our lockdown computers and running a command that made "I'm Rick James, bitch" pop up on every screen in the school during standardized tests. I came back after a 2-week holiday. I'd missed the last day before we broke up for Christmas to discover that a person in my friendship group had been catfished for nudes by this guy in the year above, who had then posted them on social media. He took a hockey stick to the school library on the last day of term, destroyed his laptop, and broke his jaw and collarbone. Got expelled pretty quick after that, but the kid who posted the photos got no repercussion, even though it was actual child pornography. Oof, this is a good one. One of the teachers in my high school was born without his right arm from elbow down. He was the new English teacher, pretty young, good looking and whatnot. We also had another new female teacher come in that year who was quite attractive. If you've ever heard of the movie Teeth, it's about this girl with teeth in her vagina that like eats things or whatever. Anyway, some kid photoshopped both of their faces onto the movie poster and made it say, "Mr. Teacher didn't always have one arm." The picture got around quite fast, and I went to Catholic school and this was a big no-no. The kid was super smart too. What a shame. When I was in high school, a kid sprayed pepper spray in the school ventilation system. It was kind of a big deal. because the school doesn't have any windows that open. The school had to be evacuated, and I think we got to leave a few hours early. I knew the guy. Typical trash. He eventually got hooked on drugs. No idea what he's doing anymore. He was an all-around bully that nobody liked, and was always getting into trouble. Final straw was that he was caught accessing someone else's grades, and was making fun of the person for said grades. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and take care of each other in the comments.